Hey everybody, it's record time with Chris and Max apparently. This is Max the dog, not the Max who does the video new release videos. Well, here's what happened. The most recent Windows update trashed my video drivers. I didn't notice it when I filmed the thing. That was a week ago, and I still haven't. I was thinking I was gonna redo it because it was all choppy, but it's just the week got away from me. So what I'm gonna do now that I'm backed up and I got all these other things I want to tell you about, I'm just gonna shoot the thing out and and it'll be if it's just gonna be a little choppy, but the audio is better than it usually is. So it is what it is. Before I get to that, I just want to mention two things. The first one is that last week we hosted a bunch of movie studios in Portland. We had a summit for movie studio people, and of course, mostly we talked about movies. But on the last day, somebody asked, really on behalf of the group, but one of the reps asked if there were any soundtracks that they have the rights to that are not in print and that they should be. So I said, geez, I'll crowdsource that. I can get you a giant list. So if you could do me a favor, if you have ideas, just throw them down in the comments here. Or I guess you could just send them to @BullMooseVinyl on Twitter. And I'm just going to compile them all and send them off to people. And who knows what will happen. What I can tell you, though, is that on the music side of things, those folks are definitely open to suggestions. It's complicated, and they don't always do what's suggested, but some of them look into it. It's pretty cool. So throw some stuff down there if you have ideas. I mean, these would be things that you would want to buy, of course, and they who knows, maybe they'll come out next spring or summer. You need a long lead time to get the rights and everything, and artwork rescanned or even redrawn. So, I think I'll just shut up and get to the video I did last Sunday, and hope there's something good in there for you. Actually, I think there is. See you soon. Well, it is record time with Chris, number 25. Here's Max. You can just barely see his head. And today, I'm going to show you a couple metal records that just came out. Tell you a story about the Killers because they have announced a new album. And also, just going to sign off at the end with some just kind of weird stuff. So, let's talk metal, huh? All right, so just out is a new album by Accept. It's called The Rise of Chaos. And so it sounds like that great 80s metal. Very much in that vein. It's got a really nice gatefold cover, and I'm going to show you what the indie exclusive variant looks like. There are 300 copies of these, I believe. It's blue, like a translucent blue with a red splatter. Looks quite nice, I think. And I just saw they're starting to announce U.S. tour dates, so keep your eyes on that. I think like their Facebook page is where I had the most info. So check that out. Another band that just released an album August 11th is Venom Inc. And these are three guys from Venom. So you can maybe guess they just had to change the name because the other people who've been in Venom are also actively doing the Venom thing. So nice gatefold. again, this has, and what does this sound like? Basically, like a lot of mid-tempo grooves with, sung vocals, but then there's some growling and heavier stuff, faster stuff. So it's... There's an indie exclusive for this as well. As you see, it's brown with a white splatter. And I can't think of a time I've ever seen that before. So I dig it. You will enjoy it, I think. So the story about the Killers, right? So they've got a new album, as I said, coming out shortly. 1 year, our annual music retail convention, to which the distributors and record labels come, was held in Las Vegas. And this was between the Killers' first and second album. So a few of us indies were invited by Island Records to go to this recording studio that the Killers had built there above a nightclub and hang out with a couple of them and the engineer and listen to what was going to be their new album. The album was complete, supposedly, and I don't think they told us what the title was. It became called Sam's Town, and one of the guys who set the thing up for the record company was named Sam, so maybe it had something to do with him. I don't know, probably not. And so we sat down in the control room and listened to it all the way through, and it was like an hour. But I'll tell you, listening to an album all the way through with the artist right there is really different from hanging out with your friends and listening to an album where the artist is, maybe dead, but they're never really going to know what you think about it. So we couldn't talk, we're trying to be respectful and also trying to listen, because it was really flattering to get to go do this. Well, afterwards, we had a chance to, just talk to them a little bit and ask some questions. And I didn't ask any questions because the things that were, the questions I had, I knew it was very unlikely that I would be able to phrase them in such a way that might not insult somebody. But now a lot of time's passed, and I figure that it wouldn't insult anybody. But if it did, I don't care, because, I feel insulted that the Killers' newest album there's a special version that's only on their website and won't be available at any real retailer. So, that just bums me out, because I really hate it when people ask, because a lot of people ask us on Twitter, can you get this? We've had a lot of questions on the Bull Moose Vinyl Twitter account, and, I just hate having to type, no, sorry, we can't help you. Because, the whole freaking reason we're in this job, like, why are you in retail, especially fun retail, where you sell books and music and video games and movies? The whole thing is because you want to help people get this cultural stuff that is going to make their lives better. And to be like, no, we can't get the colored one, sucks. I love it if it's like, Nuclear Blast or somebody who always has some kind of color available. So you're like, well, we don't have that particular swirl, but we got a different splatter. In fact, there's 2 different splatters we have. So, take your pick, or pick one of the ones on their website because they have 4 or whatever. That's cool. Yeah. So digression aside, the questions I had were, one, I noticed that the songwriting was very simple, almost like they decided not to use the black keys on the piano. Well, it was all electronic keyboards, but like the black keys all broke on the synthesizers, and they just didn't use them. And so I was wondering if that had been like some kind of conscious choice to put limits on their songwriting so that they would have to be more creative with the arrangements and just the layering of the overdubs and the kind of counterpoint and the backing vocals. They clearly weren't going to rely on clever songwriting tricks to keep the album interesting. So, I just was wondering if they did that on purpose, kind of as an experiment, and which I would have said was pretty ballsy, but it also would have sounded like I was kind of slagging on the songwriting, I guess. And the other question that I wondered about, I didn't ask, but later I emailed the guy who set it up, one of the guys who set it up, and said, "Hey, so was that mastered?" And he said, "Yeah, that's the final mix, final master, everything. It's all done." And I said, "Oh, because I noticed it had like no bass." And he said, "Oh, uh-oh." Well, a couple of days later, he got back to me and said that it had not been mastered, and that everything was cool. But I've always wondered since then if it was like, anyway, I don't know. I never found out. But it's always kind of wondered. I've always kind of wondered, like, is that just how it is? Is that just how the process is, or was the bass player not in the room when they mixed it and they just kind of mixed him out? Who knows? But anyway, let's get back to the records, shall we? Stuff, huh? Just came out. There are 1,960 copies of this 7-inch because Psycho, I believe, came out in the year 1960. And it's a 7-inch that just has the opening theme on one side and then the famous whit, 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 whit music from the shower scene. And it comes with a postcard inside, Bates Motel, like a postcard size thing. And if I turn it just right, you'll see here, that's embossed. And here is the back. So it's really cool. Really cool. This is nuts. Mother Earth's Plantasia. And you might find it in the Garson. Mort Garson is the person who put this together. And, well, let's see. Warm earth music for plants and the people who love them. On the back it says, "It has been proven beyond any doubt that harmonic sound waves affect the growth, flowering, and seed yield of plants." And that's quoted. One last thing here. This is cool. So I'm showing you the bag first. It's got a green sticker on it because the retail variant is green vinyl. But what is it? It is a new series, House of Waxwork, and it's a 7-inch plus a comic book. The comic book is also on, well, here. It's on like an embossed, I don't know, I think it's genuine Naugahyde kind of. Yeah, it feels like, it's like Naugahyde. And you've got this character, the Director, who introduces the two stories, just like a great like 70s horror comic. There are two stories in here. And on the 7-inch, which is very nice looking, I'll show you. It is green with a like a translucent green with green speckles, and those are opaque greenish yellow, I guess. It's a nice looking record. So one side A, has the House of Waxwork theme, and the soundtrack to listen to while you are checking out side 1. And the first story, side 2 has the soundtrack for the second story. Comes with the download card, and the music is, you know, if you're into like 80s synthy horror soundtrack stuff like John Carpenter, very much like that. Especially one of them has that wow 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 kind of bass line going in it. Very, very fun. I like it, and you might too if you're into it. And I guess the other thing I want to mention is there's a book about progressive rock, The Show That Never Ends, by David Weigel, and he writes for, believe it or not, writes for the Washington Post, but he's also a Prog guy, and that's what we've got here. Obviously, that's a quote, you know, it's a reference to Emerson, Lake and Palmer. Welcome back, my friends, to The Show That Never Ends, right? Carnival 9, number First Impression Part 2. And, well, you know, it's a pretty good history of it. Hits most of the, big bands, Genesis. I haven't read it yet. I just kind of flipped through it, but I will. And the epilogue goes, or there's a chapter on Neo-Prog, which has like Marillion and Asia, Porcupine Tree, Opeth, Dream Theater, of course. And the epilogue is really about Keith Emerson's death and a bunch of other things there. So anyway, I'll read it in 1 or 2 Record Time with Chris episodes. I'll have a lot more to say about this. I just need to get through a couple other things that need to be read first. Like, whoa, check this out. The jazz pianist and vocalist Dave Frishberg, who's best known for writing a bunch of the Schoolhouse Rock songs, but he's a really great piano player and a riot hysterical vocalist. His autobiography has just been published. I think it might have been in May, actually. So that's on my stack of books to read too. So hey, this might be all we got. So until I see you next time, I hope you listen to something awesome.